you too, and to be involved in this activity. So we are really happy to meet you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you so
would
much.
just introduce myself. I'm Meenakshi. I'll be hosting the session, and along with me is my co-host Swagata Banerjee. And I would
Hi.
request Swagata Banerjee, ma'am, to please initiate the session.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi ma'am. I would like to say in the very beginning, with great difficulty, I've learned three words. Asha, please let me know if I've pronounced them correctly. Dobri Den Eto Swagata Banerjee. Could I? Yes.
Yes, you pronounced all right.
Oh, thank you so much. It
Thank you.
refers to good afternoon. This is Swagata Banerjee. It's a great pleasure to see you that all of you have taken so much of interest in our literature and also our Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. To begin this session, let's hear the soulful rendition of a Ravindra Sangeet. Child, Arshia child, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Arshia? Yes. Can we begin, please?
Yeah, I'll request all the others to mute their mics,
Yes,
please.
mute their microphones,
Yeah, yeah.
please.
Ma'am, should I start?
Yes, Arshia, please.
পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে হায় ও সেই চোখে দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায় পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে হায় ও সেই চোখে দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায় আয় রে একটিবার আয় রে সখা প্রাণের মাঝে আয় মোরা সুখের দুঃখের কথা কব প্রাণ জুড়াবে তার মোরা ভোরের বেলায় ফুল তুলেছি দুলেছি দোলায় বাজিয়ে বাঁশি গান গেয়েছি বকুলের তলায় হায় মাঝে হলো ছাড়াছাড়ি গেলেন কে কোথায় আবার দেখা যদি হলো সখা প্রাণের মাঝে আয় পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে হায় ও সেই চোখে দেখা প্রাণীর কথা সে কি ভোলা যায় থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম
Thank you so much. It's
Really
wonderful.
That's
It
wonderful.
was really a feast to the ears. With great honor and pleasure, now I present to you Dr. Mahul Brahma, CSR, Corporate Communications and Branding M Junction, author for Quarantine, Love in the Time of Corona and the Leox Theology. Sir, all yours. The eager ears of the students are waiting for you.
Thank you, Shagota. Thank you so much. At the very outset, it's an honor to be a part of this program. Uh, and my friends from Russia and the students from Russia, I have gone through the presentation that you've made. It is wonderful. It's so good to know the kind of deep research that you've done in our glorious past, in the literature and history of it. Thank you so much. So in today's event, I would like to read out to you two things. One is a short story from my latest book, Quarantine: Love in the Time of Corona. That's a short story which is written in the time of quarantine in India, and it is a it is unique in such a way that these are all these are stories of the quarantine period. So it's what you, us, everybody has suffered during this period. So these stories are on that. I'm actually a luxury commentator, and the book that Shagata referred to is basically a trilogy. It's called the Lux
Yes.
trilogy. So it has three books called Decoding Lux, Dark Lux, and Lux Inferno. So this is my fourth book, and so without further ado, let me read out to you that first story, and once I'm done, after that, for which you all are extremely eager to eager to hear, is a short story by the great Rabindranath Tagore. So this is what I have in store for you. So let's start with it. So the name of the story, the short story that I'm reading from my book Quarantine: Love in the Time of Corona, is Ties That Bind. So it is about the relationship of a patient uh, with with a doctor, a patient who's infected with COVID-19, and her doctor. So it's a relationship on that. It's a story of paternal love of the doctor for this girl child who's infected with the disease. So when 14-year-old Meena was brought to the health center, her blood pressure was dropping steadily. She has been suffering for the past few days from sore throat, fever, mild breathlessness. As the fever was contained, her father never took it seriously until late in the night when she lost consciousness. Since that time, her condition has been deteriorating. Her father rushed her to the district's health center. Dr. Surat Singh Rathore has just finished the double shift and was about to have dinner. He had to skip lunch to manage hundreds of patients who are rushing in to check whether they are infected with the coronavirus. He just has one nurse and one attendant. The clinic had one room, which was divided into a double layered plastic sheet partition for making an anteroom, which served as a makeshift emergency room and now a quarantine center in case there is any suspected patient. He has been instructed to handle every suspect at his level to the extent possible. Only in case he strongly feels is a positive case, he is supposed to recommend it to the district hospital, 130 kilometers away from the village. So this is a very common story of the village structure, of healthcare. So you have these health centers which are leading up to one district which caters to hundreds of villages, one district hospital which caters to hundreds of villages. So he was deputed specially from the hospital last month to the center to contain the flow of patients to the hospital. Suraj is yet to receive the COVID-19 test kits. He knows the scarcity, so he is not even hopeful of receiving them anytime soon. He is yet to receive gloves and masks for the protection of his team. He is using only a pair he has, and he has received since he has arrived here. He is well aware of the exposure, and still his commitment is not shaken a bit. When Meena was brought in, he left his food, rushed to attend her. She was lying on the floor with her father sitting beside her, crying. She was coughing and was on the verge of losing consciousness. He picked her up, moved her to the emergency room. The nurse checked her blood pressure and pulse, and both were low. Suraj checked her eyes. Meena was not conscious. The next 1 hour, Suraj and the nurse struggled with Meena, trying to bring her back to consciousness and stabilize her vitals. There is hardly any equipment at the center, but still Suraj swore to himself that he will not give up. Meena's vitals finally stabilized, but the fever and cough sustained. He knew Meena was infected. Suraj is careful not to be emotional with the patients, but with Meena it was different. Meena reminded him of his daughter. She would have been her age if she were alive. Suraj lost her to cancer, a battle he thinks he has miserably failed as a doctor as well as a father. He will not let Meena die. The next day, Meena was feeling better, barring the cough and fever. Suraj knew if he shifts her to the hospital at this stage, she is likely to die on the way. She can't, he can't fail her. He knew her hemoglobin was low, her weakness is from undernourishment. Both problems are very common here in the villages with women and girls. This is a societal pandemic where health and nourishment of a girl child and women are severely neglected. He asked the nurse and attendant to be careful while treating her, as she was a COVID 19 suspect. She was quarantined well in the emergency room. When Meena's father came the next day with her food, Suraj checked him as well for the temperature, as there was none. The other patients kept asking about her. Suraj has instructed the nurse. Suraj had instructed the nurse and the attendant not to tell anyone that Meena may be affected. The news needs to be contained, just like the virus, so as to avoid any panic. She is quarantined well, even from the patients. As the second day passes, more and more patients started inquiring about Meena and whether she was infected. Worse, they started asking whether they will get infected from her just because they are in the same room or just because they're standing outside in the queue. They even suggested Meena and her family should be cast outside the village. Meena was gaining strength and her vitals were also stable. Given her age, her immunity can be strengthened and she will survive. Whenever he got a few minutes break, Suraj used to talk to her about her day, her friends, and the things she likes. She is a very sweet girl and called Suraj Dr. Kaka. He felt a strong bond with her, a kind of love that he felt for his daughter. He will protect Meena at any cost. He just prayed to God that his diagnosis turns out incorrect and she tests negative. He decided to shift her to the hospital after a day of observation of of vitals, albeit using rudimentary methods given the lack of equipment at the health center. He has already made the arrangements at the district hospital. There will be a lockdown any day now, and he will drive her so that Meena does not end up infecting anyone on the way to the hospital. It was 11 in the night, and Suraj was in the government apartment near the health center. He heard a commotion outside, and someone was impatiently banging on the door, almost on the verge of breaking it. He opened the door and saw a crowd of 50, 60 men, one of them holding Meena's father by his collar. He was beaten up badly. He lost his consciousness. Suraj had no clue what the hell was happening. The son of the Panchayat Pradhan is leading the crowd, instigating them. He told Suraj, because of him, they all can get the infection. He should not have kept Meena in the clinic, where hundreds of villagers go for treatment. He is a blemish and has no right to live. The bloody doctor wants to kill us all. He held Suraj by the collar and handed him over to the crowd. They started beating him up. He tried to explain to them that Meena is completely quarantined and the virus is not airborne, and so no patient could be infected. He shouted to tell them that tomorrow he will take her to the hospital. They don't have to worry about it. Not a single person in the crowd was ready to listen. He was bleeding profusely. He apologized and said, "You are all safe. Please listen to me." She was too weak to be taken to the hospital. She could have died on the way. Meena's father was lying on the ground, still unconscious. The son of the Pradhan signaled that the crowd needs to stop now. He grinned and said, Dr. Saab, you don't have to worry about her. We have cleansed your clinic and her along with it. He was clueless for a few seconds, and the moment he gained stupor, he dashed towards his clinic. The fire had by then consumed everything inside his clinic. He failed to protect his daughter yet again. So, this was the story, and now I will read out to you a short story by Tagore called Housewife.
Very touching indeed. It left us speechless in this time. Actually, something which is very common has been spoken by you through words.
That's
Thank you
right.
so
That's
much,
right.
sir.
So, ma'am,
Yes.
and given that, it also brings into light the plight of the thousands and millions of people, especially in the rural areas, who are
Right,
not getting the proper infrastructure and who are just battling all the ordeal all by themselves.
Yeah.
right, right,
And
right,
while
Asha,
we are so very comfortably inside our confinements, there are so many others who are suffering. So
right, right, right.
thanks for bringing that into light and um,
Ma'am, we are having our vice principal, ma'am, here.
No, I'm so
welcome,
glad.
ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
yes, Tapashi
Asha,
ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am.
yes, Tapashi ma'am is
Yes,
there.
yes, yes.
Welcome, Tapashi
Well,
ma'am.
actually, I found your book on Amazon, but unfortunately, it's only in English and it's not translated in Russian. But I hope, I was interested in it, and I read your about of this book, and maybe I'm going to buy it.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Asya.
thank you so much. It's really impressive, and
Thank you, Asya. Means a lot. Means a lot. It's really means a lot. I wish I could translate it in Russian, but I don't know.
After 1 days of practice, I could learn 3 words that I've already spoken.
we hope.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, all ears for the Tagore story.
Yeah.
Our students and the Russian students all are waiting for. I can see the eager faces, though virtually, but the story from Tagore. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shagata. So, housewife, which is called Ginni in Bengali, is a story of Tagore that revolves around an unlucky boy, Ashu, who becomes a victim of a very insensitive teacher. I chose this story because of the school connection, and I wanted everybody, including my dear Russian students as well, to connect with this story and how Tagore was able to uh, delve into the mind of a small boy, and how how he perceives the insensitivity of the so-called literate people and teachers who matter so much to us. So without further ado, let me start off with the story. I'll request everybody to please mute their mics. So when we were 2 years old or so, below the scholarship class, our teacher was Shibnath. He was clean shaven, was closely cropped hair except for a short pigtail. Uh, the very sight of him scared boys out of their wits. In the animal world, creatures that sting do not bite. Our teacher did both. His blows and slaps were like hailstones, pounding saplings, and his sarcasm too burnt us to the core. And this story is more about the sarcastic approach of a teacher and how it can, ruin a boy's courage, a boy's confidence for good. He complained that the relationship between pupil and the teacher was not what it was in the times past, that pupils no longer revered their teacher like God. Then he would hurl his power down onto our heads like a slighted God, roaring thunderously. but his roaring was mixed with so many coarse words that no one could have taken it for a thunderbolt. His ordinary Bengali appearance, too, belied the noise he made. So no one confused his god of the second stream or the third ear with Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Kartik. So these are all the Indian gods' names. There was only one god like him, Yama, which is the god of death. And after all these years, there is no harm in admitting that we often wish he would go there and then to Yama's home. But in admitting, but clearly, no god can be more malevolent than the man god. The immortal gods caused the immortal gods caused near so much trouble as the teacher. So if you pick a flower and offer it to them, they are pleased. But they do not harass us if we don't offer it. Human gods demand far more. If we fall the slightest bit short, they swoop, red-eyed with fury, not at all godlike if you look at it. Our teacher had a weapon of torturing the boys. That sounds trivial, but was actually terribly cruel. He would give us new names. Although a name is nothing but a word,
Swagata ma'am, can you
Yeah,
hear Dr. Brahma?
no, I suppose there is a network problem.
Yes,
Uh,
I'm.
Children, please bear with us. I suppose Dr. Mehul is facing some
Yes,
technical problems.
yes. I guess he would soon get connected, and
Yes,
besides, it's raining very heavily outside, so probably that's
yes,
one
yes.
reason. Yes.
Asha, what is the weather there in Russia at present?
I suppose Aisha is also not able to hear us.
Yes, yes.
Uh, uh, I forgot about my microphone.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
so, you asked about what?
Yeah, I just asked that what is the weather like in Russia at present?
Today,
Yeah,
the weather is very hot and very hot, 30 degrees and of heat, and it's very hot here.
okay. We are having
And what
31
about you?
degrees. We are having 31 degrees presently, but it's raining
31?
heavily. Yeah, but it's raining heavily. And I suppose that is the reason for the network problems. Uh,
Maybe it is so.
yes, yes, yes,
Mm.
I suppose so. Uh, children, children, am I audible to all of you? Can you all just quickly introduce yourselves when sir is still about to connect? Asha, can you ask your students to introduce themselves, please?
А,
Yes, ma'am.
ребят, включаем микрофончики, немножечко говорим про себя, как вас зовут, и можно сказать, что вам приятно встретиться со всеми
It's
по
really
очереди,
nice to hear Aisha speaking in Russian.
Yeah.
пока
Because
мы ждем писателя, который подключается. Алин, говори.
Hi, my name's
Hi.
Alina, and I nice to meet you.
Same here,
Ань
Alina.
Подорожная.
Yeah.
Ань.
Hi, my name is Anna. Nice to meet you.
Oh, hi, hi.
welcome to our session. Welcome to our
Uh,
session. Thank you so much for joining
she,
us.
she's outside. My student is outside because also we have a lot of problems with the internet at
Yes.
home in our houses. So and well, we're waiting for a young writer. I just want to add that
Yeah.
we prepared to read aloud one a short extract from Tagore's poem,
Yeah.
but in Russian. So if you just include my student to your session, well, it would
Yeah,
be
sure,
very
sure.
amazing. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Unless sir joins, we can continue with this. Yes,
Certainly, certainly.
yes.
Nikita.
Hello,
Alicia.
my name is Nikita. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, and I just want to ask, so you, what about
Sir
your
has joined.
lockdown?
I think
What
Dr.
about
Brahma
your
has.
lockdown? Uh-huh.
We are in the third stage of lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Gradually, things are opening, but still we are maintaining social
Uh,
distancing, and we are trying to.
but children started school?
No, no,
No,
No.
just
everything. No,
they
everything is
staying
in
at
the
home.
yeah. It's virtual
Uh-huh. So
classrooms.
you work
Yeah.
distantly, right?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
no.
not
I understand. There
realized
would
that.
be a
Uh,
yes, yes.
yeah. No, I didn't
Sir, we
realize.
can continue. We can continue.
So
Yes.
I'll just take it back a little further.
Yeah.
So far as his studies are concerned, he could not be faulted in any way. But every now and then he was a little late to school and could give no good answer when Shivnath, the teacher, questioned him. His disgrace on these occasions was appalling. The teacher made him stand by the steps to the building, bent double with his hands on his knees. His misery and shame were thus a display to four whole classes of boys. A day's holiday came to mark an eclipse. The next day, Shivnath took his place on the stool as usual, looking towards the door, saw Ashu entering the class with his slate and school books wrapped in ink stained cloth. He was even more hesitant than usual. Here comes the housewife, said Shivnath, laughing, laughingly dryly. Now, later, when the class was over, just before he dismissed the boys, he called out, "Listen to this, everyone." It was as if the whole earth's gravity were dragging young Ashu down, but all he could do was to sit with his legs and the end of his dhoti dangling down from the bench while all the boys stare at him. There were many years to come in Ashu's life when days of joy and shame more significant than this, but none could compare with what his young heart suffered on this occasion, and he could do nothing. He just sat by the bench. Yet the background to it was very ordinary and can be explained in a very few words. So the teacher, mockingly, because it was an eclipse, said that the entire gravity was able to topple his ink all over his books, and Ashu could not do anything. Now, the story behind why the ink was all over is Ashu's little sister. Now, the little sister had no friend or cousin of her own, so Ashu was her only playmate. Ashu's home had a covered porch with a gate and a railing in front. The holiday had been cloudy and very wet. The few people who continued to pass by, shoes in their hands, umbrellas over their heads, were in too much of a hurry to look around. Ashu played all day with his sister, seated on the steps of the porch, while the clouds darkened in the sky and the rain spattered. It was the wedding day of his sister's doll. So in Bengal, there's a culture of the doll, marrying away the dolls of the children. It's a very age-old culture which is no longer followed. So it was the wedding day of the sister's doll. Ashu was giving solemn and scrupulous instructions to his sister about preparations of the wedding. A problem then arose was who would be the priest? The little girl suddenly jumped up, and Ashu heard her ask someone, "Please, will you be the priest at my doll's wedding?" Turning around, he saw a bedraggled sheepnath standing under the porch, holding his wet umbrella. So he has by mistake asked, by mistake asked the teacher to be the priest. Now, he had been walking all along the road and had taken shelter from the rain there. It was Shivnath whom the little girl had asked to be the priest at a doll's wedding. Ashu dashed straight into the house when he saw him, abandoning the game and his sister. His holiday has been utterly ruined. Now, this was what Shivnath described with withering amusement the following day to account for his calling Ashu housewife in front of everybody. At first, the boy smiled gently, and then, as he did to everything he heard from him, and tried to join in a little with the merriment of all around him, of the students. And then 1 o'clock struck, and the classes were dismissed. The servant girl who went home was standing at the gate with 2 sweets and a salt leaf and some water in shining bell metal pot. And Ashu's smile gave way to the deep blush around his face and ears. The veins in his aching forehead began to throb. He could no longer hold back the flood of tears in his eyes. Shivnath took a light meal in the restroom and settled down for a smoke. The boys danced around Ashu, boisterously chanting, "Housewife, housewife." He realized that to play with your little sister on a school holiday was the most shameful thing in the world, and he could not believe that people would ever forget what he had done. So that's the end of the story, and that's all from me today. Hope you like the story.
That was really excellent, sir. I mean, we have all been very proud of Rabindranath Tagore's stories, and they are something that that kind of brings us vividly all the pictures of those ancient era, the times when people lived in the villages, and those beautiful images kind of floats in our eyes. It's a very beautiful reading by you, sir. Thank you so much. I believe our young students and all of our students, and especially our Russian friends, must have enjoyed listening to the book reading session. I would like to give it over to Ashia now and get some feedback from her as to how she enjoyed and how her students also enjoyed. If you could please interpret from your students also.
Yeah,
Could
and
they?
the poetry also, the recitation of
Yes, yes,
the
yes.
Tagore
Thank you.
poetry in Russian. Yes.
Yes, well, I can add that if you know, Tagore visited Russia in 1930, and he visited Moscow, our capital, and he had a lot of meetings with our scientists and teachers and artists and writers. And he had a book, which is called Letters About Russia. And here we also studied his works, and maybe the most famous of his last poem. And we even have a song, and the lyrics were based on this on his poem. And one of my students would like to read the extract of from his last poem, but in Russian, because we don't have unfortunately English versions here. Well, we will be very pleased to read it. Anya. Anya.
Слышишь ли шорох летящего времени? Вечно его колесница в пути. Сердце удара нам слышится в небе. Звезды во тьме, колесницы раздавлены. Как не рыдать им у тьмы на груди? Друг мой, время не бросило жребий. В сети свои захватило меня. Мчит в колеснице опасной дорогой. Слишком от мест, где ты бродишь далекой. Там, где уже не увидишь меня. Там, где неведомо, что впереди. Кажется мне, колесницей захвачена, смерть уже 1000 раз победив. Я сегодня взошла на вершину, в блеске зари обогренно-прозрачную. Как не забыть свое имя в пути? Ветер ли старое имя развеял? Нет мне дороги в мой брошенный край. Если увидеть пытаешься издали, не разглядишь меня. Друг мой, прощай. Знаю, как в полном спокойствии В позднем покое когда-нибудь, может быть, с дальнего берега давнего прошлого ветер весенний ночной принесет тебе вздох от меня. Цветом бакуля опавшим и плачущим небо тебя опечалит нечаянно. Ты погляди, не осталось ли что-нибудь после меня? В полночь забвения на поздней окраине жизни твоей погляди без отчаяния, вспыхнет ли, примет ли облик безвестного сонного образа, будто случайного. Это не сон, это вся правда моя, это истина, смерть, побеждающий вечный закон. Это любовь моя, это сокровище, дар неизменный тебе, что давно еще был принесен. В древний поток изменений заброшено. Я уплываю, и время несет меня с края на край, с берега к берегу, сот мили к отмели. Друг мой, прощай.
So this was an extract from Tagore's poem,
Is
and well,
it verse number 35 of Gitanjali? Ashya?
35.
I'm just inquiring. Is it verse number 35? That is where the mind is without fear.
I can't say you now because I don't have my my
Okay.
literature teacher here because.
Yes. I felt this was verse 35 of Gitanjali because the complete Gitanjali is translated into Russian. Okay, maybe we'll find it out. Okay, please proceed, Ashya. Thank you so much.
But she recited it very well.
Yes,
Thank you for the child who recited it. It was very nice.
This is very nice.
Yes, even though we didn't understand the language, but still her recitation was really, praiseworthy.
Yes, it was very good.
And I would certainly
Nice to
appreciate
hear.
their study about our literary works.
Yes.
In fact, she had written to me that in their library they're having a stock of
They
Rabindranath
have books, yes. They have books.
We have his books in our library in Russian.
About the depth of respect and appreciation for the culture that you have for our country, and we really feel honored about that. So thank you so much. And I had forwarded your presentation. In fact, I tried to share your presentation with as many people as I could. I had forwarded this to the author. I had forwarded this to all our colleagues also. So I would request our author to speak a few words about that. Sir, could you find some time to go through the presentation? How beautifully drawn the parallels between the
I have gone through the presentation, and it's beautifully put together. I actually shared it with a few of my friends because it's there's so much passion and so much hard work that has gone into understanding the culture of another country, and then putting it together in such a way you can make out that it was not done in an ad hoc way. It was not done because something needed to be done, but because there's a deep love for for the culture that you are doing it for. And as far as the recitation of the poem is concerned, unfortunately I also didn't understand what the poem was, but it was very full of life and very passionate, the way she recited it. So I also suspect there is a possibility that it is where the mind is without fear.
Yes.
So,
Verse 35.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Asya, thank you so much, and thanks to all your students for putting such a beautiful effort and such a passionate effort, which has moved all of us, even outside the purview of the school and academics.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We still have many more left in the session. And Ashia, in this context, I would also like to, invite your comments about the literary works that you wanted to share about your writers. You said that you wanted to share something. Yes, Alexander Pushkin.
Yes.
So we are eagerly looking forward to hear something from you.
Yes, we have one of the most famous writers in the world, and his name is Alexander Pushkin, and maybe you know about him. He lived in the 19th century, and he wrote a lot for children, and his fairy tales are very famous here in Russia. And I sent you a book with his fairy tales.
Yes, yes,
And every family and also me have a book with his fairy tales in our homes, and he also wrote about love and Russian nature. And my girl student prepared a short poem which is very famous here, and it's called "I Loved You." Dasha.
wow, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Microphone.
I loved you, and I probably still do, and for a while the feeling may remain. But let my love no longer trouble you. I do not wish to cause you any pain. I loved you, and the hopelessness I know, the jealousy, the shyness, those in vain, made up a love so tender and so true, as God, as my God grants you to be loved again.
And maybe thank you, Dasha. Maybe you know you have heard his Eugene Onegin. It's very famous, and it's around the world. Oh no.
Yes, yeah, I've seen this slide wherein this poem was also mentioned. It was really a very beautiful poem, I should say.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I can say that your culture and our culture has very talented writers and very amazing literature, and we have so many connections in the past, and I hope in the future we also have a lot
Yeah, we are really
uh,
very thankful
uh,
about
a lot of united mm, writers maybe or something.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
yes, this Indo-Russian culture goes a long way back. Even it has influenced our Bollywood industry. Remember, "Mera Juta Hai Japani," isn't it, Swagata ma'am?
yes, 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 yes.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
I just
Yes,
want to say one thing, Meenakshi.
yes, ma'am. Please.
We come to know about Russia when he visited Russia and he
Yes.
came back. It was in his later age, and he
Uh-huh.
has written about Russia. The
Mm-hmm.
name of the story is Letters from Russia.
Yes,
Every
letters
day
from
he
Russia.
used
Tagore,
to.
Yes,
Yes,
letters
yes.
Tagore,
about
letters from
Russia.
Russia.
So from there we can come to know about Russia very well. At that time, what are the changes were made and how it was done, how the people in Russia used to live.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very famous write up, and we enjoyed reading those and came to know about Russia.
Yes. Uh,
Yes, absolutely. We understand that, most of the literary works, they've all been influenced by the current situation, by the people that they see around them. So I guess that brings the commonness between all the literary works and between all the writers, isn't it? So just the way our author has also written about this quarantine. So I believe this ongoing phase is something that is going to be there in our memories for the years to come. So, sir, to continue with the session, I would now like to, introduce you to our young students who have been very eagerly waiting with their set of questions. They had, in fact, given me a long list of questions,
Sure.
and because they've only heard about the author or only read about them in the books, so they wanted to see and they got a chance to interact with you. That's a very big excitement for them. So, I would first begin with one of my child, Divyanshi Lakshmi of class 5. Yes, Divyanshi, I'm sure you have been very eager to ask a question to our author. So, would you like to ask him something? Divyanshi, are you there?
Meenakshi ma'am,
Thank
let's
you.
have the student who are ready with the questions.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. You're
Yeah,
absolutely
because I suppose there is network problem. All of them
exactly.
might not be there. Yes, children who are ready with their questions one by one.
Class 10s, I think I have some students. Debanjana, Vedika, Anubhav, and Shojanno. Anybody can take over?
Okay. Vedika, can we have a question from you? Meenakshi ma'am, by the time, please see the students, the little ones.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
they are
absolutely.
facing.
There's
Yes.
one more child also, Arshia.
Yeah.
She's also waiting to ask a question. So
Yes.
let Aratrika go on with her students, and then
Yes.
I'll take the little ones.
Yeah.
No, never mind.
Vedika, are you ready? Vedika? Yes.
Ma'am, I have a question to the author.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Vedika. Please tell me.
Hi, sir. I have a question that during this quarantine, like, there are so many things bad happening. Like, there are so many bad things happening in this year. So, how can we get a hope? Like, yes, we can be together, and no, we have some good hope, right, for our future. So how can we think like that? There are so many bad things happening around us, and we are all considering 2020 as a really unlucky year. So how can we change our conceptions? How can we, you know?
So I'll, it's a very nice question, and it's a very true thing. So I'll tell you, my father always used to tell me that, you don't control the circumstances. What you can control is what you do with them. Okay. So, so when something happens, which is not, uh, which is not good, which is not for the welfare of the nation or your own welfare, and you still have to live with it because this is how life is. You have to, look at it in such a way and understand how you can make the better of it. So first, I'll give you my example in terms of in 2020, especially during the lockdown. Uh, while all of us were shocked, I work for a Tata Group company, and I head two important verticals there. Now, I also had to work from home, and it's a new thing. I like going to office in terms of just the way you like coming to school, I believe, uh, and doing my work there and coming back without any baggage. But however, this entire system was a new system where I had to work from home. I had to manage my team from home, and it was not easy. Now, imagine the things that happened during this lockdown, because I won't say the first few days were a little bad, and then I realized that we need to do something productive about it so that I don't regret spending time at home, quarantined or in the lockdown state, that it has gone to waste. And when I look back after a year or two, then I don't want to tell myself that I could have done this, or I should have done this, I should have utilized it better. So what I did is that I started writing the book. Okay, so this was on the third day of the first small mini lockdown that I started writing the book, and the objective was to write a book about this new situation that we are all into. You know, all of us are into this absolutely new situation where we don't know from where the virus will hit us. So we're at home. We're trying to keep ourselves and our dear ones safe. So people would want to know what other people are going through. Okay, so that's where this thought of writing the story came, and that's where the thought of utilizing the time that I had, because I was not going to office, so I was saving on the travel time. So I thought I'll write a book on this situation, and I'll publish it in this situation so that people, while still in lockdown, are able to read the book. So typically, when I publish a book, I publish a physical copy of the book, which is the normal way you read your books. But this book was published only in Kindle version,
Children. Yeah,
in
and
a
she has
in
said
a
that.
yeah, in a e-literary festival. Okay, but in a virtual literary festival, and I made it available. So I wrote it, I finished the stories, I published it, and in a e-fest, in all in the lockdown, and made sure that it reached to people. So it was on Kindle while within the first stage of lockdown, because at that point of time I was not sure whether the lockdown would be extending or not. So I had a very stiff target. Uh, so all I'm saying is that now when I look back, I see that I have started. I've started walking, morning walks, which I never used to do. I have got used to this system of working from home. I have started reading more. I have started writing more, and suddenly I have a lot of time. And I'm very happy that such a situation happened where I could rediscover the same 24 hours that I had into fantastic things that I could do. I'm almost on the verge of completing an a year-long course from IIM Calcutta on communications. So all this is happening, and I'm so glad that such a situation came. I'm not definitely glad for the outcome, but I'm glad because it's something challenging, and when you it's only when you hit something challenging you need to work on something good out of it, and make the best of it. So today I was listening to Mr. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. He was addressing the Indian Chamber of Commerce, and he said that thanks to this crisis, that we now have an opportunity to rediscover ourselves. So we have Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have we have the new campaign, the new strategy of being an independent, being an India which is self-reliant. Now, behind this self-reliant India are the confident Indians who are not bogged down by this crisis. So, my dear, my only request is, whenever such a time comes,
Make the full use of it.
make the full use of it. Look at it
Absolutely.
from a different lens. Don't look at it from the lens that people will show it to you. Step back and try to give it a holistic look. That what can I do best in this situation?
Absolutely.
And incidentally, in
Absolutely.
2020, two books have been released of mine. So Lux Inferno was released just a month back, and 2 months back, and then within a month and a half, Quarantine released. So this has been a very productive year indeed.
Two faces
Yes.
of the coin for
Yeah.
someone. Yes. Meenakshi ma'am, your student?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Just as our author rightly pointed out, we have to make the best out of the situation, and I believe these have been really very inspiring words from him. So I would like to take Ashia's question. She has been,
Yes.
ever since she has gone through the profile of the author, she has been very keen to share a few things with the author. So Ashia, please go ahead.
My I just want to ask that how would you like to guide a generation to be a renowned author like you?
Okay, that's a very very tough question. Uh, See, the thing is, uh, writing is a calling. Okay, now. So it has to come from inside, and while it needs to come from inside, at the same time it is very important to cultivate it. It is very important to keep writing, to keep developing your craft, to read a lot, to it's only when you read and when you keep reading and you keep reading a lot, you you develop an acumen to write. Okay, so if you are in a kindergarten, or which class are you in?
5.
5. Or in class 5, it doesn't matter. So you can be an author at any age. So at my age, at 80, at your age, at any age, it just you have to love it from inside, and and it's something that you should not force yourself to. It's only if you like to read stories, you know, non-fiction as well. But you need to cultivate a habit of reading, as well as cultivate a habit of writing. So to be a professional author, so at a professional level, not at an amateur level, I'll tell you my schedule. So I am very disciplined as far as my writing is concerned, in spite of the fact that it's a very creative process. So I write every day. Okay, so I have a full time job, and I study a lot and all that. But every day in the morning from 6 to 7 o'clock, in the morning, before I get ready for my office, I write for 1 hour. And this has been the discipline for the past at least 15 to 17 years, from the time that I've taken up, writing very seriously. And I was a journalist for a very long time. So you have to be very disciplined towards the craft. And it's only after years and years of practice, years and years of cultivation, that you'll emerge as a full-fledged author. And it's not difficult. It just takes discipline. It just takes a lot of love from inside for the craft. And it just takes a drive, to establish yourself as an author. So what I write in the 1 hour, in the one in 1 hour, is that, see, every day it's not that I'm writing something towards, say, a story or a fiction or a non-fiction. Whatever comes to my mind, I write that. I have a diary, and I have an ink pen, and I use an ink pen when I write. But I write every day. Anything and everything that comes to my mind, I just like think about it and write. And in this process, the stories come. In this process, the thoughts come. But it's very, very important to pen your thoughts. So I would request you that if you can start at your age, writing a diary. So you basically, you don't have to write everything that you've done in a given day, but in that given day, if you can just write the thoughts that has come to your mind regarding a subject, regarding a person, regarding a friend, something you felt bad about, something you felt happy about. If you can just, it's very important to be able to translate your thoughts into words. So once you're able to make that transition, that'll do the wonder for you. So as far as inspiring a generation is concerned, I think it's too much, but definitely I can tell you that, embark on this process from today at your age, and very soon you'll emerge as a fantastic writer.
I suppose her question, we are also motivated by the answer.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Swagata,
Ashya?
we really keep saying these words to our children. So
Yes.
obviously, this is coming from a celebrity like our author. So I think that will have a much more powerful message. And I'm really thankful to our author, because ever since I had been discussing about the book reading session, many of my students have been doing a lot of reading in
Yes,
using this as the pretext.
absolutely.
Yes. So
Yes. Ashya, any of your student would like to ask a question?
yes, yes, I was just
Yes,
about to.
we would like to ask a question too. Ребят, кто из нас задаст вопросик? Включитесь. Мгм.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. Please do.
What inspires you for writing?
What inspires you
To write.
to write? Mhm.
Yes.
Where do you find these ideas and these stories?
Okay. My biggest inspiration has always been people. So you are an inspiration. Your student is an inspiration. The students I am interacting with today are an inspiration. The teachers are an inspiration. So I take a very keen interest in people, and I observe them, I study them, and I love to engage with them. I love to talk, and I get all my inspiration from the different characters that I meet on a daily basis, the characters that I interact with on a daily basis. See, I work in a corporate. So a corporate is a very, very interesting place. It is a dog eat dog world. It's a very competitive, it is cutthroat, and yet you have you know people of very different flavors. Even in that you'll have to find humor. Even in that you'll have to find happiness, find love. And when you start looking at the world, from that perspective, you'll see even the most mundane things they'll start inspiring you, and and it's fantastic, and that's how you generate a continuous source of inspiration, so that your writing remains continuous and you keep writing, and that's it.
Well, I got you, and what I can, like, I can say that you sound so positive and you sound so lively and well, optimistic, and that's very 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 great. And I translate your words to my students. Of course. Well, thank you.
Thank you
Sir,
so much.
Thank you.
now in line is our teacher, Aratrika Banerjee. She also has a question. So we
Sure.
have to skip the students and give the chance to the teachers.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, Aratrika, please. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm not.
Yes.
Okay, hello. Thank God. Okay,
I
the thing is that, hello, good afternoon. A great session, by the way. And the thing is that I thought that I'll ask directly to the author that how do you deal with writer's block? Since you write every day from 6 to 7, which is very inspiring. Okay, and I wanted to know that what you write, but since you said that you write anything and everything that comes to your mind, how do you deal with writer's block?
So I'll give you an example of the writer's block, and then I'll tell you what I do to do away with the writer's block. As you can't do away with the writer's block, you can just manage it. Try to minimize the duration of the block, but it is inevitable. So when I started writing for quarantine, I had a very very tight schedule, because as I said, I wanted to publish the book, get it in the hands of people, in their tabs and in their Kindles, uh, within the first lockdown. So I was on the target. So now this book, Quarantine, has 6 stories. Okay, and while I had planned all the stories initially with so what I do, again, in a I don't have it with me, but in my diary I make a small sketch, a plan and of everything, in terms of how the characters are and what the story is about. But when you start actually writing, the ending of most of the stories have changed, because when you actually start writing, you see the story develop on its own, and deserves a different technique, a different approach, and so the ending, invariably might end up changing. Now, after finishing the first 3, so I had targeted one story per day, because I wanted to get this book out in a duration of, I think, 12 days, 10 days for completing it with the cover, and the cover is designed by my wife, Savia, and then publish it on Amazon Kindle. So I had a total window of 12 days. So I had to finish one story each day. So I had given myself 10 days, and I had accounted, so 6 days for the stories and 3 days for a writer's block. So you can understand that how even in the planning process I had incorporated a writer's block module, because it is such a common thing, and it is bound to happen, because the moment you are in a deadline, typically, if you are on the deadline, then writer's block becomes very prevalent, because you have to meet a deadline and your mind somehow refuses to think in line with the way you want to. So I had also gone through that writer's block, and thankfully it did not exceed 3 days. Within 2 days, that writer's block was over. I could not write a line on the stories, and then the rest of the 2 days I worked. I had an extra day, so I had a time to proof the entire manuscript. So what I'm saying is that writer's block is an integral part of writing. All you need to do is to keep a buffer for it, and the only way you manage a writer's block is by writing every day. So you make your system in such a way that when you sit to write, you're able to write. Now, I have been a journalist for around a decade. I've been a senior editor with the Economic Times, New York Times, and a few others. And being a journalist, it's a profession that you have to write every day. You can't come and say I have a writer's block, so I'm not able to write anything.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's a practice that we have gone through as a training. But still there is writer's block, and it's part and parcel of life. So if you write every day or you discipline yourself every day, you are able to manage it to a very great extent. So that is my 2 bits on writer's block.
All right. Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Welcome.
Over to you, Meenakshi ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. One thing that was really noteworthy about the words of the author was that, he maintains a very strict discipline. And even though being in his profession, he's so very time bound about everything. And I think that is a very important and a very strong message to all of our students. So, just like as he said, time is really very important to all of us. So the time indicates that now we have to come to the end of the session, and I'm really so very glad that he agreed to be part of this session, and he has really honored us in that way. So I think our principal ma'am is not there with us due to some technical reasons probably. So I would request Tapushi ma'am, Tapushi Mukherjee ma'am.
No, 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 no. It's me. No, Tapish ma'am is not there, I think. Is she there? I'm there.
I'm there. I'm
Yes, yes.
there, but when you are there, you have to be there.
But here, Meenakshi ma'am, before Kapashi ma'am and VC ma'am thank everyone, I would like to mention this whole meeting, this whole thing could be possible because of the help of all the people who have helped us. Technical help from Vikram sir, Saurabh Shil in making this whole thing possible. Our senior teachers, Aratrika Banerjee, the students, Ashia, everyone, Meenakshi ma'am, her planning, coordination, everything has been so good. Time and again, we have contacted, tried to, get ideas from VC ma'am, all the principal, teachers, students, Ashia, everyone, including Vikram sir, the technical people. I could see Vikram sir and all others, the technical team, along with Shorab, continuously running about and making the preparations. I suppose they are, I can see they are in school. At least we are sitting in the comfort zone of our homes, but they are in school trying to help us with this program to make it a success. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Big round of applause for everyone.
Exactly, exactly.
Seema Bakshi ma'am is also there. I can actually, I'm not able to see all, but the in charges, some of the in charges are there. Quite a many students. I would like to thank everyone, and of course, Tapashi ma'am, over to you, please.
It will be VC ma'am speaking. VC ma'am is there.
Yeah, of course.
Before we actually start thanking you, I think I need to tell my name first because they are so used to calling me VC ma'am. I'm Mrs. Vijaya Chaudhary, the principal of the school. That's the first thing. Secondly, Asha, it's nice meeting you. If you remember, we had met in that previous year. We had promised to our invitation still stands. Dr. Brahma, the same thing for you. We are very, very people, loving people. I mean, we love to have guests here, as we say, Atiti Deva Bhava. We believe in that. And most importantly, amongst all the negative things that are going on in the media, I think the COVID has given scope, lot of scope to people who love to read or to write or to pursue their passion. I personally feel this has been a great time for them so that they could devote some extra hours for that, especially working from home in their comfort zone and especially in the serenity, rather people disturbing them, those things were not there. So more than anything, I think I'm really honored on behalf of my school, my friends, my teachers, my colleagues. We would again request each one of you. When we open, we would love to see you all again in our school and not virtually, but in real. So the days are not very far. We are looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks a lot, really. And one person I would especially thank too is Saurav sir, because had it not been for Saurav sir, then probably this session would never have been possible. And I again thank to all my distinguished guests. And I suppose this was a wonderful conglomeration of a distinguished author, the teachers from both the countries, and also the students from both the countries, and all the technical persons who have been in support of and who have made this possible. I am really very thankful.
I'll just
Yes,
say a
yes,
little
sir.
bit. Yeah, although we've overshot time, but I'll just say a little bit. Thank you, Minakshi, and a special thanks to Saurav. He's been extremely kind, and to follow up with me on my timing and all that. And BC ma'am, thank you.
My pleasure.
It's very sweet of you to have me over, and Asya, thank you so much. You and your students have been extremely kind and uh, very talented. The way you've been able to interpret the essence of the literature of a foreign language, it's fantastic. To the students, I'll just tell them one thing. Time management is something that you need to start learning from a very early age, and discipline is something that goes along with it. So if you are disciplined and if you are able to manage your time, you'll be able to do lots of things which you will not be able to do otherwise. So, along with studies, you should do a lot of other things, but manage your time in such a way that you do justice to your studies as well as to the other things that you love. Uh, so, uh,
Really important. It's
so
really
that's
important.
my two
I
bits.
also absolutely agree to it.
So
Discipline.
I've seen, ma'am. Being creative, people take certain liberties, and what happens is, they lose their way. You have to be disciplined, even if you are creative. I mean, more so if you are creative, you have to be disciplined and you have to manage time well. I'm thankful to all of you, and thanks for having me. Over to Meenakshi.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Those were really
Your invitation
golden
is
words.
there still with your children, Asha. You and your
Yes,
children together.
well, I want to thank you for inviting us, and this is a great chance. And truly, this is the first time we participate in this activity, in such online activity. And well, all is perfect. And thank you, Meenakshi, for organizing this. And thank you, Mr. Brahma, for reading. It was amazing and
Thank you.
great work.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm really very thankful to you, Ashia, for joining us, and that too in between your vacations. So you have been really generous about that. And just as our principal ma'am mentioned to all of you just now, you would really love to see all of our guests in person rather than just meeting virtually. So looking forward to meet you very soon. So thank you very much. And in our Indian style, namaste to all of you, and thank you very much.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Ratrika ma'am, if you're there with us, I would definitely like to thank you also. Thank you very much, Ratrika.
Aratrika has left.
Okay, okay, sorry.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Children, you can leave the meeting.
Is Tapushi ma'am there with us now?
No. No.
With us?
No, no.
No, Tapushi ma'am left.
Okay. All right, all right. Okay. Okay, thank you all once again.
Yeah,
Swagata ma'am. Seema ma'am is also there with us. No?
Yeah, Seema ma'am is there.
Yes, yes.
I
Seema ma'am.
Swagata ma'am.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Really,
ma'am.
thanks a lot. Even Aratrika, though she's not there.
Yeah, she's really not there, but I'll definitely make sure that I'm sending a personal
Yeah, and Vikram sir.
every one of
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, actually.
Thank you, sir.
You all made it possible, actually.
Really.
I learned 3 words of Russian language.
You're done. Good job, ma'am.
I learned, yes, this my daughter helped me with, she said, mom, greet them with Russian good afternoon. I said, okay. And she wrote it for me.
Wow,
Very
that was a really wonderful idea. And I think that must have made Aisha feel very good,
Yes.
Somehow I couldn't play that song. I couldn't
No
play